Good afternoon and welcome to M.M.E. I'm your host, Blind Prime, and for today we're going to be talking about the Willy's 1/12 scale World War II military Jeep model. It's a handmade model that you can buy on eBay. My friend and viewer, but IRL friend, he found this guy on a Bronze Works or something like that store. It's There are two different types of this Jeep. There are there's multiple different types of the Jeep, but we're going to get in that in a second. But the two major different types of Jeep are the RC version and then the scale model version that they want to, they expect you to put on a desk or something. And if you want it for the 1/12 scale stuff, I suggest getting the scale model version, not the RC version, because then the RC parts take up a lot of space in the vehicle, and this guy doesn't have a lot of space. So most of the vehicle will be taken up by ways to drive the vehicle, and you won't be able to put any figures in it. So today we are going to talk about how to, make this thing action figure accessible, and also give you an understanding of what this is, and how it works, and also what you can and can't do with it. So first off, I have in the front seat of this Lady J, in the passenger seat Flint, because Lady and J Flint are always together. The I've got Beachhead sitting on one side of this thing. I've got Heavy Artillery Roadblock standing in the middle of the Jeep, in that little compartment area in the middle of the Jeep. And if we rotate it around, all the way around, this thing is not light, by the way. It is kind of heavy because it's all steel. Even the wheels are steel. What in the world? Here we go. Turn them around, and we get Stalker hanging out on the other side, the passenger side, with Flint. That's a better kind of view on them. Now, this window does pop up, and neat little feature with Heavy Artillery Roadblock is when the window pops up, you just pick his gun up slightly, and then there we go. The end of his gun rests nicely on the top of the window, and that adds, some support there so that your Roadblock's arms don't get exhausted. I know mine are. He's been holding that big gun for a while. That is how you can make Roadblock's life just a little easier if you have the Heavy Artillery Roadblock. Now, the pieces all over here, I've got a big piece just hanging out right there, as you can hear. And this is a chunk of metal that came from the underside of the dash. Now, the dash went down from below the window, went down just towards the driver's and the passenger, just a smidge of an angle there, and then it went under, like the space where you would find a glove compartment, and then it went down again after going under, and it connected directly to the floor, leaving less than 1/8 of an inch space for any of your action figures to fit in there. It wasn't going to be working. Well, the day I got this thing in the mail from my friend was also the day I was going to play D&D at a friend's house. We usually host Dungeons and Dragons World of Darkness tabletop night here at my place, but that night we went over to his place. Now, he is an avid gamer, and he's a LARPer. So he has a lot of tools in his garage for messing with LARP supplies, and he just so happened to have one of those handheld saws. I'm forgetting the name of Dremel tool. He happened to have a Dremel tool, and it had a metal saw bit on it because he bought all these bits because he cuts a lot of foam for and cardboard for what he does with the LARPing. So it just came with some metal bits, and he happened to find one that cut through this metal like it was. Well, it wasn't easy for him. It took him about 20 minutes to make the cut because he was being careful, but it was definitely a lot easier than I could have done. And afterwards, though, now you couldn't cut down at the bottom, you could only cut at the top. So there's a little bent up stuff here on the corner because this thing was in there just a smidge catty corner. There was about 1/8 of an inch, maybe less, on the passenger side that you could fit needle nose pliers in. Barely, but you could get them in there. So after he cut the top of this, and in the meantime he had to cut the steering wheel, which is sad, but we got it back together. And I just got some needle nose pliers and some metal clamps in there, and I wiggled this thing about until I broke the glue that was holding the metal glue that was holding this piece onto the floorboard of the vehicle, and I just snapped it off and moved it around, and then went in there and cleaned up afterwards. And now, as you can probably, if you can't see, there is a Lady J sitting in the front seat with her legs splayed out under the hood of the vehicle, and there is a Flint hanging out in there. Now, not all the figures can get in there because the gap itch is a bit steep. Like it's kind of a tight gap, and I wanted to showcase Flint being in there because he's got that big thing on his back that makes him kind of sit away from the seat a bit. So anybody of Flint's width that can fit, Flint can fit here. Anybody of his width can fit in this spot as well. I just wanted to showcase that, and I got a couple of the bigger figures to showcase the how everything works back here. Now, let's go ahead and take off these action figures so I can really get into the depth with describing this vehicle and all of its glory. So let's go ahead and get rid of Heavy Artillery Roadblock. Hey, Roadblock, who you taking with you? What's going on here? Come on. There you go. That's a good Roadblock. Set Roadblock over here off to the side. There we go. Roadblock set aside. Let's go ahead and get Stalk. No, you're Beachhead. No, you're Stalker. Let's get Stalker. Put him off over here to the side. Wait, is that Stalker? Yeah, I thought that was Stalker. Alright, set him off to the side. I forgot he was wearing some suspenders. Now, let's get Beachhead. Set him off to the side. And then let's go ahead and get Flint and Lady J out of here. So, come on, Flint. Flint's the hardest to get out, because he is kind of stuck in there, but it's easier if you get Lady J out first. Lady J will come with the steering wheel because we had to cut through the steering wheel in order to actually cut that piece off the bottom, sadly. But that's where the awesome... I dropped Lady J's hat. Put your hat back on, Lady J. There you go. Yeah. It's okay to cut through the steering wheel because everything here is made out of metal. So, there it goes. Just kind of clamp them in there, but there's no risk of cutting them up or anything. I made sure of that. And I put everything that was sharp-edged, bent inwards, really deep. Okay, it's set there. And now all of the G.I. Joes are set away from the vehicle here. And let's go ahead and take... Well, we'll explain that in a second. So, let's spin this back around. Now, because of cutting this entire area, I had to cut out the steering wheel and also the two pedals it came with. But the pedals work pretty well for other things, so just remember that. And when you put magnets in there, so you get some neodymium magnets and you're golden, you can just have the steering wheel resting there. And it doesn't look too awkward. I mean, it is a little lower than it should be, but that's a nice little sturdy place. Like it's in there, it's not moving around, it's stationary. Well, I mean, it is going to move around a little bit, but it isn't going to like float around the vehicle. And that really helps out whenever you put in an action figure holding the steering wheel. The magnets there add some assist to holding the steering wheel so it doesn't exhaust the action figure's joints any. And another bonus on having the steering wheel removed is you don't have to worry about trying to thread the steering wheel through the action figure's legs or something like that. You just put the action figure in there, and then you with the steering wheel in their hand, and then you can just move the bar that the steering wheel's on, the axle, until you find the magnet spots, and Bob's your uncle. Boom. So that's really something I tried to set up to make my life easier, and I do suggest that you do the same. Now, the other thing to realize is that you will have to remove this center console if you want to remove that piece, the metal piece, because the center console butts up against it and covers some of the welding, or some of the glued down side. That lip on the entire length of this panel was glued down or hot pressed into position, and this center console fit over it just slightly, just like so. And kind of explains to you the amount of space there. There was no space. It fit over that lip, and then that went straight up. So you have to first remove this piece, Now, after you remove this piece, you go, how am I going to put it back on? Well, I've actually covered that in one of my episodes about neodymium magnets, and you get some really nice neodymium magnets out there. But I've got a nice bar-sized magnet, and this bar magnet is pretty good. How wide is this bar magnet? Let's see. This bar magnet, if I remember right, was like 5 millimeters. If I measure it on the Lego pad, it measures up to be one stud, and it goes across the gap and covers about half of a second stud. So that gives you an idea of its measurement. But it fits inside of this center console. The way they bent the steel for the center console left a gap in there. Kind of, it feels like a staples, like the rack of staples that you would get. That's kind of what this bar feels like. It's like uncut staple rack. And then you can slide this piece in there and it just sits inside of that. And now this thing is magnetic. And you can use this after you've done the Dremel tool and cutting away the piece and pulling it out. There's going to be a lot of metal shards down there. So you can use this and use the shifter on it, the shifting pole. Don't go there. It will try to be attracted to the seats, to everything, because everything in here is made of metal. But once you've wrangled it down to the bottom area, you can then use that shifter piece to just kind of slide it around. And it's important, very important, that you do not put this neodymium magnet on the floorboard of your Jeep. You will never remove it unless you get a more powerful magnet. If you put it inside of this this like length of staples that is the middle of the console, the center console bit, if you put it in there, then there's this gap of space between the neodymium magnet and the metal of the floorboard of the Jeep, and that's going to ensure that you do not lose your magnet and have it stuck at the bottom of the Jeep forever. Instead, the magnet is stuck inside the center console, which is easy to remove, and you just have to wrangle it in there. Get in there. Stop being attracted to the seats. You okay? Are you in there? Good. Now it's attracted to the floor. Cool. It's like, oh, I want to hang out with the seat right now, though. No, I want to hang out with the window. No, I'm going to hang out with the side of the vehicle. Okay, so that's that. And the center console here is pretty cool, but we're just talking about modifications at the moment. I just want to explain to you what I modified before we get into what's left. And so that's how you do all that. And when you remove that panel all the way to the front of the Jeep, all the way to the front grille of the Jeep is empty space under there. So you can get your figure's legs in there. The only negative is that the sides where the wheels are dented in. So you do have to be aware of that and make sure that your character's legs are bent just a little bit in order to take advantage of all the space available instead of like getting caught up on those edges. Last thing I did was I realized this thing needed a radio antenna for communication purposes, and I thought, what better place for a radio antenna to be than on the back end of this vehicle? So I took a paper clip that a friend gave me, and I found it in the bottom on her floor in her car. And I was like, neat! This is a shiny metal paper clip, and I'm like, yeah, can I have this shiny metal paper clip? Yeah. So there. Shiny metal paper clip works out pretty well for a shiny metal radio antenna. And of course, you bend it up a little bit to make it look a little more vintage. Like, it's a radio antenna attached to a vehicle in a war zone, so it gets bent out of shape sometimes, and then they have to come and bend it back in. But we're going to set that piece off to the side because it's proven to be nothing but problems in my other shoots because I kept knocking it over. So it's going to live over off to the side for now. Now let's bring out the handy dandy Lego pad and let's get into this. By the way, the paper clip, I just bent most of it, but I left that last little bend in the very center of the paper clip, and then the rest of it goes up. The last little bend gets scrunched between Lego pad off to the side. Gets scrunched between this little seating area, like they got this little pad or something on the seat, which it does not make it a pad. The seat is still terrible. It's terrifying. It's really hard. But there's a little gap between it and the edge of the vehicle, and that's where I rest the edge of the paper clip to help stabilize it. And then I put one of the tiny magnets that I got for the feet. My roommate got for the feet of the GI Joes. and I slipped them into the feet of the GI Joes, or slipped one on top of the paper clip to make the antenna have that little bobble at the top, because all antennas have some weird little bobble at the top of them. All right, here's the handy dandy Lego pet, and as we see, this thing is basically one stud longer than a 32 stud. Actually, I'd give it two studs longer, so we'll say this is 34 Lego studs long. It's not that long of a vehicle when you can think about how many characters it can hold. But funny enough, if you put the Lego pad down there with the front, it goes across the entire length of the Jeep until it butts up against the gas tank and the spare tire on the backs. So, oh, and lengthwise, let's see. This Jeep is not very wide, so we can actually get that real quick. Boom, right there and right there, and that makes it. Let's see. 11, 12, 13, 14 studs in width. Like I said, it's not that long. There are some Transformers that have vehicle modes wider than this guy, but well, maybe not wider than this guy, but longer than this guy. Anyway, that is the measurements for him and how I fixed him up. Now let's talk about the detail on this thing, because this is something really cool. Now, something else I want to mention is everything about this is metal. Like this magnet right here just sticks. Where did it go? There it is. It sticks. So you can actually use this magnet, stick it on the window right there. There you go. Wait, something went wrong. No. There. Yeah, it's got it. It gives it enough force. It's not going to try and float away whenever you're doing something. It's staying in there. Or you can move the magnet to the very top of this, and you can find the center of your Jeep and give it a weird looking piece, like it's got a hood ornament just right there, and that's locking it down. So that's something you can do. But these wheels are all metal. This one's a little bent out of shape than the other three, so it doesn't roll when any of the other ones do, unless you like put some weight there, and then it can roll. The wheel there is all metal construction, hand put together. This is excellent. It feels great. It's just so odd that it's a solid metal wheel that magnets attached to. Magnets attached to the wheel. Just what in the world is going on with this thing? We come over here to the side, and we've got this nice cutaway where the door should be. But in these Jeeps, they didn't really have a door. They just had a spot that was cut away that you could just step into, and that's really cool. Now, these Jeeps come in different types. This one had the shovel on the side. Other Jeeps have an axe there, apparently. And then on the back end, there's more stuff, but we'll get to that in a second. Now, we have this solid steel construction going down all the way to the back. We got this nice wheel well here for the rear wheels. Both of the wheel wells are nice. This is just solid metal construction, so the textures are all right for something made out of steel. And it's got these little clasps on either side. And there's one on each side of this thing. The one on this side is a bit smushed, though, which isn't good. I should try and figure out how to smush that back out just a bit. But these clasps are meant for holding things. I don't know what they would hold, but I'm pretty sure that there are accessories. There are all sorts of accessories that you can buy for these vehicles. You can get some weird machine gun thing that goes in the middle. You can get a canopy. I guess that's what these pieces are for, is for the canopy. And there's nothing in the back to signify a canopy connection, though, unless the canopy is just supposed to rest around the back. But I know that there's a version that comes with a canopy, and then on the back here we've got a fuel tank that is the appropriate size for World War II era fuel tank, military style, with characters of this size scale too, like your see, Mr. G.I. Joe Classified Series Bat from winner of last year's contest on Best Action Figure can carry it no problem. Like, his hands actually fit in there very well. And you'll see he's trying to pull it away now. Isn't that neat? And I think it's really cool that that thing is like that. And because of the way they put everything together, it shouldn't be too difficult. Yeah, let go of it. That. That. Oh my god. No, 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 no. Look, I know a his tank's coming up, but you can't take the Joe's fuel. That. Oh my god. Get off. Thank you. Good grief. It was really easy to put his hand on there, but then his hand didn't want to leave. Did I just screw up his finger? Oh no. Oh good. I didn't break it. I just bent it out of shape a bit. Cool. So be aware of that. Be careful. This is the battle damaged bat, so it's okay if something happens to his hand. It makes it even better for me. But that piece is there. Oh yeah, the edges there are a bit sharp, so be aware. I just cut my finger, not my finger, but the bat's finger a bit on that piece. The rear of this vehicle is very nice. We've got two bumpers. We've got a bumper on one side that bulges out like a World War II era Jeep. Like this is spot on stuff. I used to be a World War II fanatic, and I was into the vehicles, and this is spot on. There's a little license plate down there. You can paint that if you want, or do anything with it, and maybe put a magnet on it. Then you can come up here on the other bumper, and the other bumper's the same exact way as the other side. And there's even a little hole cut into each side. I wonder if that's where the other part of the stuff for the clasp on the side is supposed to go. But just a few extra add-on points on the back, and there's of course the rear lights. And then on the interior of this guy, we've got a deep set floorboard for the rear. It goes all the way to the bottom of the vehicle. Like, I think that's two separate pieces of metal stretched over each other, but very close to one another. You could probably squeeze out another little bit, but not much between these two metal panels. The seats on the side are the same folded pattern, so if you wanted to remove those, I wouldn't think it'd be too difficult to. If you worked at it long enough, you could actually pull up all of these spots back here. But each one of the side compartments above the wheel has a little extra piece glued to it or something for texture or sculpt work. It's really nice. And then the back doesn't really have much extra sculpt work going on. The seats for these are very nicely done. Their sculpting is all right. They're raised up just enough to be perfect. I do kind of want to try and remove them actually, and put some magnets inside the seats and then put them back in so I can have adjustable seats. And if you want to do that yourself, I don't think it would be too difficult to remove these seats and try that. I just haven't gotten around to it. And it works for me, so I really don't want to remove them. But if I collected more beefier figures, I'd want to push these seats back. They got a little extra space that they can go back, and that may help you put action figures in it. All right. Oh, wow, I've been talking for a bit on this thing, and I'm still really not done. So we'll finish it up real quick because this is an excellent thing, and I want to talk about it so much. The front grille, the front bumper, everything about the front of this vehicle is spot on for World War II accuracy. It's also just sculpted in detail. It's not an insane amount of detail. It's not going to drive your fingers wild trying to finger out everything. Haha. But it is enough. Like you get the vertical stripes on the front, the vertical vents for the Jeep, the traditional two big lights on either side of those vertical strips. That is just the Jeep face. It's got another little license plate off here to the right hand side of the Jeep welded to the bumper itself. It's a very thin piece of metal there, but you can paint something there or stick something there if you want. This surface is flat in the sense of how it feels, which means that it will hold paint very well. This one does come pre-painted. They said stickers on the website, on the eBay listing, but there weren't any stickers. Instead, it just came painted with U.S. Army and the star and stuff, according to what my roommate told me. This cost him, he said he got it on sale for $60 with $20 in shipping. And honestly, its normal price is something like $80 to $89. And for a solid steel structure like this, yeah, that works out. Like, it's a bunch of steel panels folded around, but it's handmade. You can figure that out just by feeling them. Like, this wasn't printed out of a machine. This was somebody actually did all this with their fingers and some tools, and that is simply amazing. Um, I highly recommend this Jeep to every GI Joe classified collector out there, especially with the His Tank coming up soon, and you know you want a Jeep. Now, we're going to do a separate video today so I can do comparisons because I've already talked your ear off about this. So this is the review video, and then the next video I upload will just be a bunch of comparisons to give you an understanding of the size and scale of this Jeep. It's nearly perfect, in this humble YouTuber's opinion. So thank you so much for watching, and please tune into my channel. We've got more stuff on the way, and this week we're going to cover Studio Series Movie 1 Barricade, on our Transformers. As this kind of a, the movie's coming up, Studio Series movie, and if there's a Decepticon out there that I thought was one of the better ones, it was Barricade, and a really cool Decepticon. Right. Until next Prime, thank you so much for watching. Bye bye for now.